All right, you guys, I'm going to walk you through the steps to create your identity portraits using Adobe Express. So make sure you go to the link available in Canvas or express.adobe.com. You're going to log in with Google, select your school email, enterprise ID, and this will take us to the start page of Adobe Express. From here, we're going to create a graphic, a custom size graphic. So we're going to hit the plus sign and select custom sized graphic. We don't want to do from your photo because that makes our photograph the background layer, and we want to have a little bit more freedom than that. So we're going to make sure we do custom size graphic. And once this loads, we're going to set the size to inches for the units of measurement. And then we're going to do, we'll go ahead and make the width is going to be 5 and the height will be 7. Make sure this says inches and click next. Okay, once this loads, we're going to get rid of the template suggestions and we're going to design this space based on our images. So from your photo shoot that you did for your self-portrait, you should have saved them to your Google Drive. And hopefully, based on feedback and your own opinion, you selected at least one to download to create your identity self-portrait with. So I have one downloaded here to my computer, and that's the one that I'm going to start with. So I'm going to drag that image straight into my workspace in Adobe Express. And it comes in pretty small, but luckily the resolution is large enough that I can just scale it up and it maintains the quality. So I'm going to scale that up. And this also gives us the freedom to kind of create a stronger composition. So meaning like where our crop is and where we're arranged within the frame. So I'm going to do mine right there. All right, so some things about Adobe Express that you can try. One thing that's kind of fun to do with these is maybe you want to have things that look like they're in different layers. So that it looks like maybe things are going behind your portrait of yourself. So I'm going to just get a design asset, and this has lots of things in here that you can search for. I'm actually just going to stick to their suggestions here and let's see what we can find. Maybe some textures. Or overlays actually. So I'm going to click more right here and find this kind of like gold kind of scraping. It's kind of neat. So I'm going to grab that by just clicking on it and it will place it into my image. So to get that overlay look, we're going to duplicate the layer that our image is on by selecting it and then pressing duplicate. You could also use the shortcut Command D on the keyboard. And when I do that, now you'll notice in the layers that I have 2 of the same image. So I want to do that because I want to preserve the background on one, but have myself without the background on the other. So on this layer, I'm going to click Remove Background. And this will give us some options to refine. And this is something that we'll be learning to do in Photoshop later this year. For right now, we're going to take this really easy route and without as strong of quality, but it's okay for what we're working on. So we can do some editing here, kind of just changing what, and there's like more specific settings. And once you get it how you like it, you're going to click Done. And now you can see that there are 2 of me. And so this one I'm going to place directly over top of the other one. Okay, so now this gold scrape kind of design, I'm going to use on my layers over here, stack. I'm going to drag it down between those layers. And now it kind of goes behind that layer. So that's kind of something you can play with as you get into the design. So what about placing words and things like that in here? So to do that, I can get myself back here. There we go. Okay. So to place words and other and other images and things. Design assets is a great place. You can search anything. For mine, one of the words I put down was um, yoga or yogi, but I'm going to search up yoga. And of course, in overlays, there's none, but let's see what design assets has. So I have all these choices that I could use. I could use a yoga mat, someone doing yoga. So I could pick any of these and place them on my um, identity self portrait. She's kind of cool, so I'll leave that there. I might come back to it later. As far as text goes, we're going to click the text. Again, this gives us lots of suggestions, maybe for your name. You could do one of these more distracting suggestions, but since you're going to have a lot of words describing your identity, for the rest of them, I would probably stick to something more basic. So for my name, I'm going to use this like speech bubble one. So when I click it, it's going to give me, it says out of office, but I can edit that. So I'm going to double click over here in the edit text and type in Miss Christian. And so there's that. And then I can resize this by dragging that little box to make it a little bit smaller. I can also, since this kind of yellow color doesn't really go with my color scheme here, I can also change that. When we look over in the edit text, we notice that the shape toggle is turned on so that the speech bubble around the text is really just a shape. So when I click this drop down where I noticed that was turned on, now I have the option to change the color. So I can click something that it suggests, that Adobe Express suggests, or I can get this dropper and find a color within my image and it'll change it to that. So that's kind of interesting. You just have to make sure you grab the dropper between each color. So once that color is applied, I have to go get the dropper again to make it create a new color. All right, so there's that. With my text, I can, like I showed you, I can scale it. I can also rotate it. So that's an option. And legibility is pretty important. And right away, I'm noticing that like I'm losing my M because I selected a color that was in my background. So that was not a good choice. I'm going to actually come back here and select a color from my shirt. There we go. A little bit more contrast. All right. So I've got my name on there. And now I'm going to start adding the things from my list that I determined help make up my identity. So I'm going to click add text. Now by default, this first time it's going to come in the same way with that shape. So I'm just going to turn that off and that will get rid of it. And I click up here and my first word, I'm going to put mom since I'm a mom of two girls. And so there's my word. And this one, I think I might change my typeface to something else. There's a lot of choices in here. Remember, legibility is pretty important since we want to actually look at these and learn things about each other. But I kind of like these the hand lettering fonts. So maybe not that one, but let me try this one that's more cursive. There we go. And so I can drag that. And again, on this, I can scale it. I can, meaning making it larger, smaller. I can rotate and things like that. Now, since I did that thing where we separated the layers, I have a little bit of wiggle room and I can make this look more like a cohesive design without things remaining so separate. And so if I wanted to do that, of course, keeping in mind that legibility is super important, I can still kind of play with that overlap. So if I don't cut off too much of this M, maybe like putting it right behind my head here, and then in my layer stack, I can drag it down and it might take a second to load. But once it gets there, it should sort of hide behind there. There we go. So you can kind of create some interesting effects that way. So you're going to keep repeating that process. You can keep going back to the text and starting a new text box. So I'll do that this time, add text. And each time you do that, it's going to come in this default. But once you have it kind of maybe you find a font that or a typeface that you want to continue to use, I will show you how to manage that. So for this one, I'm going to do learner and teacher because those are two things that I think really help identify who I am and contribute to my identity. So there's that. And then I want to change my color. I'm going to use my dropper here to pick up a gray. Okay. And so now I have this, I like this typeface. I'm going to get this one where I want it in a good size. And then now instead of starting over again, I'm just going to click this duplicate. And now when I duplicate it, it makes two of them. And so they say the same thing, but it also duplicates the style and the color. And then I can change this one to something else. So I can say another item from my list would be artist. And so I'm going to put that one in there and drag that somewhere else. And you can play with scale, make some things larger, something smaller. Maybe the larger and smaller indicates the larger things indicate things that are bigger, a bigger part of your identity. Smaller things or maybe smaller things that are smaller but still contribute to our identity. So you can really play with like scale and size and arrangement. This girl right here is just kind of floating. I haven't really decided what to do with her. But this is how you're just going to keep going in that way. So your project, create something that is interesting, and I'll show you my final one. Create something interesting that you're proud of that really tells a lot about you. And we're going to name this the same way we name our projects in this class. So it's going to be S Christian. So first initial, last name, your block. And then this is identity. And we're not going to add portrait just because that's going to make it too long. So we'll just do identity and then O1 because this is our only one, but maybe you make more than one. So then you would do O2, O3, and then you have some to decide from. Before I go, another interesting thing we can do here is actually add pages. So let's say like we like this, maybe we get this to a place that we really like, but we want to make some variations without changing our original work. We can hit this duplicate page and it will actually make two. So now if I make a change on this one, maybe I decide I don't even want to use this design asset. So I can try a different layout here and where on this one it's still preserved. So that's another way that you can kind of play with your layout and design and things like that. So if you have multiple pages, the download part is not much different. You'd go in here and you only want the one page that you're wanting to download, and then select JPEG and start download. And that will download it to the computer. And then make sure you select where you're sending it. I'm going to actually leave that too because I downloaded my original. I'll make this 102. So that'll download it to where you need it to be, into your folder, and then you'll upload it to Canvas. And that's it. I can't wait to see what you create and learn more about you.